Hi everyone, my name is Kilani Klette and I chose to do my presentation on performance appraisals, specifically addressing changing trends in how organizations are utilizing performance appraisals to impact staff performance. So I'm going to start off with the basics and the basic functions of performance appraisals, which allow managers to communicate and make decisions on employee performance. Most organizations require performance appraisals for all of their employees, as it's one of the main tools that they use for providing feedback. When used correctly, performance appraisals can be used to influence behaviors and motivate an employee to improve their performance. And then performance appraisals are a way for organizations to fully capitalize on the talents and efforts of employees to better meet organizational goals. So the trends that are being seen in current research are a change in using performance appraisals as a strategy for developing employees versus administrative functions, which was the traditional use of them in the past for legal purposes and determining pay or raises. Another change is to providing feedback on a more consistent basis versus only once a year to meet increasing employee demands of wanting to know how they're performing year-round. Research also shows that presenting performance appraisals in a positive manner has more impact on an employee's performance and level of motivation. Then lastly, incorporating the use of goal setting for increased employee ownership to further improve performance. So now I'm going to look at these trends individually, starting with the developmental role of performance appraisals. So due to traditional methods of performance appraisals having increased negative connotations from employees, such as stress, they were causing conflict, those types of things, organizations have been changing to use a developmental approach where managers take on more of a supportive role versus authoritative role. And managers proactively assess an employee's strengths and weaknesses to determine training and development needs versus looking retroactively at errors in performance that the employee had over the year. Another change is managers then use this information not to reprimand or discipline employees, but instead to set a path for progression and advancement, hence the developmental role. Incorporating positive psychology. So research now shows that many organizations are using positive psychology practices in their performance appraisals to assess responses from employees that overall boost efforts towards performing better. This is where managers are encouraged to assess their employees' level of psychological capital to aid in determining the employee's ability to self-develop and thus what their ability to perform is. So broken down on this slide, it starts with psychological capital, what it's defined as, what characteristics are associated with psychological capital. Then it goes into the definition of self-development and how those are related to performance. So psychological capital looks at an individual's self-efficacy, optimism, hope, and resilience, and it determines how likely an employee will be in successfully completing tasks on their own. And then that translates into an employee's willingness to self-develop. So overall, the research suggests that the higher an employee's psychological capital, the greater their performance will be. So that's important for managers to take a look at when they are trying to set up goals with the employee. So how do managers use this to their advantage? Knowing an employee's ability to self-develop aids with the goal setting process in the following ways. Managers can collaboratively work with employees to align organizational goals and objectives to those of employees' goals and objectives, which overall improves performance for the organization. In my interview portion of this presentation, I interviewed an HR director at the hospital which I work, and he had some pretty good perspectives and feedback on the goal setting use for performance appraisals. He said that an important aspect of making sure that your goal setting is successful is to incorporate the use of SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely, in helping the employee to work with you to set their goals. And then also it's important to focus on the future, emphasis for growth and development in the future versus looking at the past and criticizing on behavior. So he had some really good feedback on that. So bringing it all together, why is it beneficial for organizations to incorporate these trends that I've been talking about, and what is their impact on improving staff performance? So research shows that a powerful motivator for employees is recognition that they are a valuable asset to the organization. Focusing on positive aspects to develop an employee builds employee buy-in. And then using goals set by the employee ensures that the work that they are performing is gratifying to them, which is also a big motivational factor for how an employee performs. With those being said, these factors ultimately lead to higher job satisfaction and influence whether an employee stays at their job or not. So in a competitive market that we have these days, job retention is super important for an organization to focus on, as it costs 3 times more to recruit an employee than it does to retrain an employee. So job retention is very important when an organization is trying to accomplish its own goals and objectives. Then using goals based off of the employee's strengths versus their weaknesses increases staff engagement, because they're required to participate evenly with the manager in a collaborative fashion in goal setting, which increases accountability with staff involvement, overall impacting an organization's culture by having happy employees who feel valued and enjoy what they do. I hope this presentation was interesting to you guys, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact me and ask. If not, here are my references. Thanks for watching.